Perfection is the lie you keep telling yourself to justify why you're not moving forward. You sit there waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions. But here's the truth: they don't exist. Perfection is just an excuse, a way to avoid taking action, because action means risk, and risk means failure. So instead of moving, you wait, you tweak, you overthink. And while you're stuck in that cycle, life keeps moving without you. Perfection isn't a standard, it's a trap. It tricks you into thinking that if you can't do something flawlessly, it's not worth doing at all. But the reality is, the pursuit of perfection is just procrastination in disguise. It's fear. Fear of failing. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being good enough. So instead of trying, you hide behind this impossible ideal, convincing yourself that you're just being thorough, just preparing, just waiting for the right time. But let me tell you something. Perfection doesn't build success. Progress does. Every step forward, no matter how messy or imperfect, gets you closer to your goal. Waiting for perfection keeps you stagnant. It keeps you stuck in your head, while the people who are willing to act, willing to fail, willing to learn, are out there lapping you. You've got to understand this. Perfection is unattainable. It doesn't matter how hard you try, how much you plan, or how long you wait, you'll never reach it. Why? Because perfection is subjective. What's perfect to one person is flawed to another. It's a moving target that will always stay just out of reach. So why waste your energy chasing something you'll never catch? Stop worrying about being perfect and start focusing on being better. Better today than you were yesterday. Better tomorrow than you are today. That's how progress works. It's not about huge leaps. It's about small, consistent steps. And guess what? Those steps are going to be messy. They're going to be full of mistakes, failures, and lessons. But that's where growth happens. Think about the most successful people you admire. Do you think they waited until everything was perfect to start? Number, they took action, even when they weren't ready, even when they didn't have all the answers. They learned as they went. They adjusted, adapted, and kept moving forward. That's what separates the doers from the dreamers, the willingness to embrace imperfection. Perfection paralyzes you. It keeps you in a constant state of preparation, never execution. You tell yourself, I'll start when I'm ready. But here's the reality. You'll never feel ready. Readiness comes from doing, from stepping into the arena and figuring it out as you go. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. And let's be honest, perfectionism is exhausting. It's a constant pressure to meet an impossible standard, to never make a mistake, to always have it together. It's not sustainable. It burns you out, kills your creativity, and leaves you feeling like nothing you do is ever good enough. That's not a recipe for success. It's a recipe for misery. What you need to focus on instead is progress. Progress is messy. It's full of failures, setbacks, and adjustments. But progress is real. It's tangible. It moves you forward, even if it's not in a straight line. Every mistake you make, every failure you experience is a step closer to where you want to be. But none of that happens if you're stuck chasing perfection. Let go of this idea that everything has to be perfect before you start. Your first attempt is supposed to suck. Your first draft, your first try, your first anything. It's all going to be flawed. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. If you're not willing to embrace imperfection, you'll never get started. And if you never start, you'll never get anywhere. Stop aiming for perfect and start aiming for done. Done is better than perfect because done moves you forward. Done teaches you lessons. Done builds momentum. Perfect keeps you stuck in one place, spinning your wheels and going nowhere. Ask yourself this: what's more important, looking perfect or making progress? Because you can't have both. If you're obsessed with perfection, you're sacrificing progress. you're sacrificing growth. You're sacrificing the very thing that will get you closer to your goals. Understand this. The world doesn't reward perfection. It rewards effort. It rewards persistence. It rewards results. Nobody cares if your work is flawless. They care if it's effective. They care if it gets the job done. So stop holding yourself back, waiting for everything to be just right, and start doing the work. Perfection is the enemy of action, and action is what builds success. Not planning, not waiting, not tweaking every little detail until it's just right. Action, messy, imperfect, relentless action. That's what separates those who achieve from those who dream. Perfection is the invisible wall you keep running into, and the worst part is, you built it yourself. It's not real. It's a mental construct you've created to justify your inaction, to give yourself a way out, to protect yourself from failure. But here's the brutal truth. Perfection isn't protecting you. It's imprisoning you. Every second you waste chasing it is a second you could have spent getting closer to your goals. You've convinced yourself that perfection is the standard, that anything less isn't worth it. But let me ask you this. How much time have you wasted obsessing over getting every detail right before taking the first step? How many opportunities have you let slip by because you were too scared to act until everything was flawless? That fear of imperfection isn't saving you. It's costing you. It's costing you time, growth, and most importantly, progress. When you chase perfection, you're not just avoiding action, you're avoiding accountability. As long as you're planning, tweaking, and perfecting, you don't have to face the real world. You don't have to risk failing. But avoiding failure also means avoiding success. You can't have one without the other. They're two sides of the same coin. And here's the kicker. Perfection isn't even necessary. Look around you. The most successful people in the world didn't wait for perfection. They took what they had, did the best they could, and made it work. The first versions of anything great, businesses, inventions, works of art, were all flawed. But they were done. They were real. They existed. And because they existed, they could be improved. You don't improve by waiting. You improve by doing. You improve by trying, failing, learning, and trying again. That's the process. That's the reality. But if you're stuck in the mindset that everything has to be perfect before you start, you'll never experience that process. You'll never learn. You'll never grow. Think about this. Every minute you spend chasing perfection is a minute you could have spent building something real. While you're obsessing over the details, someone else is out there making moves, taking risks, and creating results. They're not worried about being perfect. They're worried about progress. And they're winning because of it. Perfection is also a form of arrogance. It's the belief that you're above the messy, imperfect process of growth, that you're too good to fail, too smart to stumble, too talented to make mistakes. But mistakes are where the magic happens. They're where you learn what works and what doesn't. They're where you grow into the person capable of achieving your goals. Here's what you need to understand. Perfection is boring. It's sterile. It's lifeless. It doesn't inspire anyone because it's not real. People connect with authenticity, with effort, with the struggle. They connect with the imperfect because that's what they relate to. By chasing perfection, you're not just holding yourself back, you're robbing the world of what you have to offer. Stop waiting for everything to line up perfectly. Stop convincing yourself that you're not ready, that you need more time, more resources, more preparation. You're ready now. You have enough now. The only thing you're missing is the willingness to act. Think about how much you've already lost by chasing perfection. How many goals you've put off. How many dreams you've sidelined. How many opportunities you've missed because you were too scared to start. Are you really willing to keep letting that happen? Are you really okay with wasting your potential just because you're afraid of a little imperfection? Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. But let me tell you something. You don't overcome fear by hiding from it. You overcome fear by facing it, by acting in spite of it, by showing yourself that even when you fail, you can get back up and try again. The people who achieve great things aren't the ones who wait for perfection. They're the ones who take action, who learn on the fly, who adapt and adjust as they go. They're the ones who aren't afraid to look foolish, to make mistakes, to fail in public, because they know that failure is temporary, but inaction is permanent. Here's the ultimate truth. Progress beats perfection every time, every single time. A flawed action is infinitely more valuable than a perfect idea. Why? Because action moves you forward. It creates momentum. It teaches you lessons. It gets you closer to where you want to be. An idea, no matter how perfect, is useless if it stays in your head. So stop chasing perfection. Start chasing progress. Focus on taking one step forward, no matter how small, no matter how imperfect, because one step leads to another, and another, and another.